When calculating compound interest, we need to use the formula A equals P times 1 plus I to the n if we are looking for the future value. If instead we want to find the present value, or the amount invested, we need to rearrange this equation and use the formula P equals A over 1 plus I to the n. We are given the question, determine the amount to be repaid if $5,000 is borrowed at 12% per year, compounded quarterly for 5 years. When we read this question, our first job is to identify whether or not we're calculating compound or simple interest. The question says compounded, so this would be our clue to use compound interest formulas. Our next decision is to decide, are we looking for the future value or the present value? In this question, it asks for the amount to be repaid, so that would be the amount in the future. So we are going to use A equals P times 1 plus I to the n, and not the rearranged equation. So we'll cross the second equation out here, and we can get that equation just by rearranging. So we need to be able to do that for the exam as well. Next, we need to calculate the I and the n. I is calculated by taking the annual interest rate as a decimal. So 12% is a decimal. I would divide it by 100, so I would get 0.12. And I have to take that 0.12 and divide it by the number of compounding periods in 1 year. So this question tells us that interest is calculated quarterly. That means 4 times a year, so I have to divide that by 4. So the I that I'm plugging into my formula is going to be 0.12 divided by 4. So I is going to be 0.03. To calculate the n, we have to multiply the number of years times the number of compounding periods in a single year. So because we have 4 compounding periods in a year, we're going to multiply 5, the number of years, times 4. Since interest is calculated 4 times a year. 5 times 4 is going to give us an n value of 20. So we have to do that little bit of work before we can actually plug into the equation. So now we're going to write out the equation again. A equals P times 1 plus I to the n. And now I can substitute in the principal, or the amount borrowed was $5,000, times 1 plus I was 0.03. So that's going to give us 1.03, and the n was 20. So we can type that into our calculator now. We want to make sure to properly use brackets and also to properly use our exponent button on our calculator. And when we type that in, we are going to get a final answer of $9,030.56 when we round to 2 decimal places. We want to round our answer to 2 decimal places because we're talking about money, so that would be the cents column.